I see we have many people logging in to help us with this closer, to visit us for this closing session. And we have a student panel, which is really exciting. So if you would, in the chat, just put in your name and either your school or your school district, just so the students can see who's with us today. That would be awesome. Thank you.
All right, we've hit 11:35, and that is the go time for this session. So welcome to our final session of today's conference. If we've not had a chance to meet yet, my name is Matt Alley. I'm Director of Student Services for MASSP, and I'll be playing a very small role today as the focus of our discussion will be provided by our student panel, comprised of young leaders all across the state. So the 8 leaders you see in front of you are from the Michigan Student Board of Delegates. So kind of a state student council that our association has the pleasure of working with. And we have comprised students from all across the state to share their ideas today. So a little bit of background. One of the initiatives that we've introduced to all of our virtual conferences for the last year is a parade of idea session where we focus on sharing as many different ideas and concepts and content in a very, very short amount of time. So for today's session, we're really kind of shifting away from just sheer idea generation and wanted to focus more on genuine student voice and experience. So the topic we chose to end today's session on is silver linings in remote learning. We know the hurdles, we know the struggles, we're living them every single day alongside our students. But positives and life lessons are born out of every difficult situation, which is really where our students come in. So for the next 15 minutes or so, we want to hear what impactful takeaways our students have had over the last year of dealing with remote learning. I know we don't have the chat function up, but we do encourage any positive emotions, clapping, extended conversation. We can use that Q&A box. So if you hear something you like, let the presenters know and we'll spread some positivity, on this beautiful Tuesday morning. So with that said, we're going to jump right into the action and we're going to welcome our first panelist. So please join me in a gigantic virtual digital welcome from Troy High School. Welcome, Sarah Yu.
Hi, as Matt mentioned, my name is Sarah Yu. I'm a junior at Troy High School, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal journey with self-growth and self-reflection through the pandemic. So obviously COVID-19 has given all of us the gift of time, and I've kind of used that to focus in on my personal management in my own life. Personally, I think online learning puts a focus on recognizing what I need as a student from myself, from my staff, and my personal support system. I've been able to recognize my limits, weaknesses, as well as strengths, which has been prompted from my own self-reflection. I've been able to take time for myself to recognize my passions and focus my time and energy on things that matter to me. This kind of means for me setting my own schedule to do my assignments and study, finding out what motivates me. This for me meant creating a space, an environment for myself where I found myself most productive. Right now, I'm in a space in my house where I have my computer set up. I have a nice little window. So finding things that make me the best worker that I can be was really important through navigating this pandemic. I've also discovered my personal passion for civic engagement and justice. And this has meant redirecting some of my clubs and activities to focus towards that narrative. I even decided to give up a sport this past year to really focus on what I believe is important to me. Another thing that I've been able to discover through the course of this pandemic is that nobody can really help you unless that you ask for it. So in that self-reflection, I've discovered the courage to reach out and express that in the virtual setting. And I can credit a lot of the adults in my life, including the coaches and teachers who've encouraged me to take advantages of new opportunities with my new passions in the virtual setting. I had our assistant principal reach out to me earlier this fall to be a part of an equity inclusion board. So for me, the pandemic has really brought me new opportunities and helped in providing self-growth for myself.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sarah Yu. I appreciate the words of wisdom. I appreciate you taking the time for a little bit of self-reflection to find the new hobbies, new interests, and new doors opening for you. We're going to turn the mic over. Again, huge digital welcome from Grosse Pointe South High School. Please welcome Megan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Wysocki, and I'm a junior at Grosse Pointe South. I think one of the biggest things, the biggest positives to come out of quarantine has been the altered definition of what it means to be busy as a student. Last year at this time, I was typically at school anywhere from 8 to 13 hours a day, starting usually with club meetings at 7, and I would walk out of weekly deadline at 8 on Mondays every week. I felt like being busy was the best thing I could do to prepare for college admissions and beyond. I was also out for 3 weeks because of stress-induced illness, falling asleep in my first hour, and breaking down under my workload every month. But I accepted it because I reasoned that everybody did it. After the total upheaval of my school routine with remote learning, I began to understand what I cared about versus what was simply a check on my college application. I noticed myself transitioning back into a normal school setting with a refreshed perspective on what it means to be balanced versus simply busy. I think my teachers played a significant role in this shift in mindset. Many of them are careful to include mental health check-ins during class, and I think the school community as a whole is cognizant of the pandemic's adverse effects on mental health. Consequently, it's become a more talked about, normalized subject in school. And while it's not the way I intended to learn this lesson, I think acknowledging balance in an environment and learning to prioritize it is something I will take well into college and my adult life.
Oh, great points, Megan. I completely concur, and I'm sure the hundreds of educators on this call would echo that sentiment that we really didn't think we could get any busier. And then once the shutdown happened, whether it's you're now face-to-face, remote learning, hybrid schedule, we've all tried to learn new norms, and we've picked up a lot of extra responsibilities. And one of those beautiful silver linings that's kind of come out of it is this emphasis on mental health. And that's both for students and for staff. And we're seeing a lot of positive legislation being introduced to help counteract that. So thank you so much for sharing. Next up for our idea sharing session, we're turning it over to North Farmington High School. Please welcome Yash.
Hi guys, I'm Yash. I'm on a different camera thanks to my good friend Nikhil because my camera decided to not work today. So I'll just go ahead and start. So one thing that the pandemic did was sort of update my model of reality around happiness. So one author by the name of Vishen Lakhiani argues that we have to update our model of reality when it comes to happiness because it is really a combination of three aspects: experiences, growth, and contribution. So the way I think about it is experiences are like joy. They're what everyone thinks about when they think about happiness or feeling good. But the problem is we've been deprived of many experiences because of the pandemic. School events or dances, field trips, a lot of activities with our friends. We missed out on a lot. And so, of course, we can fill that hole by trying to get virtual experiences. And some of these are really great, like connecting with all these awesome people on BOD and across Michigan through MASSP. But some are not so great, like mindlessly scrolling through social media for hours on end, which I admit that I'm not completely immune to doing. But despite that, because of the pandemic, I began to focus on those other two aspects of being happy, which include growth and contribution. I'll start with growth. As a runner, I always recognize the value of growth or getting better or faster because no matter how good or bad you are, it's always very gratifying to get a new PR or a new best time. And a tremendous upside of this pandemic was applying that concept to other areas of my life. I began many practices like reading, cold exposure, and meditation, and these all had a very profound effect on my training and life. But that's only part of the story. Just yesterday, I reread a book, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is about a famous seagull that gives up everything to just master flight and eventually teaches others. And it blew my mind, but it also served as a powerful reminder that this whole process of getting better is not a means to an end. It's a pursuit of excellence that's inspiring and meaningful in and of itself. as for contributing to those around me, this is something that one of my teachers, my world religions teacher, Mr. Day, he really inspired me to do. So he has a very positive attitude, even when he's going through a struggle, even when he and his family contracted COVID. And he's always been really big on being compassionate, not despite our circumstances, but because of them. Because the thing is, if times are bad and we're suffering, that's a good indication that there are others that are going through something a lot worse. For instance, I might not be happy if all of my social activities are on the line because of a virus, but I'm sure that there's someone else out there who might not be happy if their mom or dad's life is on the line because of a virus. And so I began applying this principle a lot more because of Mr. Day's philosophy. On top of this, the greater amount of time that the pandemic gave me allowed me to at least attempt to be a better friend, brother, and son. In the past few months, I've had the chance to help many friends and acquaintances with their more challenging coursework through tutoring, for example. So to sum up, the pandemic deprived me of many experiences that I was attached to. But the moment I stopped mourning that minor loss and beginning focusing on growth and contribution or making progress and service, I stopped surviving and began thriving.
Wise words, Yash. I appreciate it very much, especially the concepts. One of the main concepts you introduced about we call it B, right? Better every day. Every day we wake up, we try to find little aspects in our lives that we can improve and ultimately improve the lives of other people. Very well said. There are some great Q&As coming in. My man, thanks for holding that up. Some great Q&As coming in. Please keep them coming. I'm sure the students would have no problem jumping on there and typing in answers. Megan, I know you have one specific to you. If you want to type in an answer on what that mental health check-in looks like at Grosse Pointe South, that daily mental health check-in, that would be great. Next up for Parade of Ideas from Sheboygan Area High School, please welcome Callie.
Hi guys, so I'm Callie Landon and I'm a junior at Sheboygan Area High School. And so 3 things I found that have been really helpful for me throughout this whole pandemic is prioritization, mental health, and teacher-student relationships. And so I found that through prioritization, learning when to prioritize like different subjects over another, like I tend to do better in math. So I've learned to focus more of my time and energy into my other subjects. And with my assignments that are due a little bit closer, I tend to focus more of my time on those. And I've also really learned that it is a really good thing to have a healthy balance between your school life and your personal life. I find that, you know, having that, like that mental health aspect, taking a little bit of time out of a day or your week to do something for you, even if it's not necessarily something that's going to get you farther ahead in life, but something that will put you in a better mindset, like taking time to paint or listen to music or bake or do something that you find joy in, it is worth it, and that'll almost do better for you in the long run. And I think that more on that is that sometimes your life has to be more of a priority over school. And I found that through the pandemic, I've had to focus a little bit more on that and learn to take a step back and spend some more time for myself. I also have found that it's very important to have a healthy relationship with your teachers, and that really just makes things go a lot more smoothly. And it is a two-way street. So like you need to have respect for your teachers, but your teachers also need to have respect for you. And I found that it really does help when you have teachers that you trust that you can go to when a day is hard and you really don't have the mental health or the right mindset to go home and do 3 hours worth of homework. And that teachers are a lot more understanding it now, and they understand that like life right now is a hard time, and that, you know, sometimes you need those days and sometimes you have those days. And so my one teacher that have really helped out with that is my Spanish teacher, Profe Dali. And throughout the whole time we were online, we are back in school now, but the time we were online, she did check-ins and had Google Meets where you could just sit and talk to her, and she'd just listen to every little thing you have going on wrong in your life, and she would talk to you and tell you about it, and she would give videos on how you could better prioritize your life and manage your schedule so that you get the most out of your day. And I really just found that that really helps me a lot and was able to help me push through the pandemic a lot smoother than if I would have felt more alone.
And Callie, I think you just won the hearts of about 400 educators around this call. Respect, two-way street, working at that balance and that self-care. Great insight. Next up, we still have a few more students left. We're going to Yash's roommate. We're going to Nikhil, who's also from North Farmington High School. Yash, if you can get out of the way, that'd be fantastic.
Yes, I'm right here. Hello, everyone. My name is Nikhil. Again, Yash and I go to the same school in North Farmington. A little bit of technical difficulties today, but we persevered through it. Okay, what we learned and what positives came out of COVID-19. Before high school became very busy, I was just like your son and daughter, binging Netflix shows on the weekend and getting yelled at when I watched 4 seasons in 2 days. Pretty impressive if you ask me. I remember one specific show based in the 1700s where the character was invincible. Whenever the audience thought he was never going to escape, he did. But he didn't only escape. He left the situation in a better place than when he started. He took every catastrophe and turned it into an opportunity. Now, you might be wondering why this kid is talking to you about a Netflix show, but this ties in to COVID. I learned an important lesson that day, and that was to take every challenge as an opportunity. As COVID approached, we were all stuck at home. My partner and I, Yash, by the way, couldn't travel to DECA internationals, and our last family trip before my sister went to college was canceled. I remembered how to take COVID as an opportunity. With constant encouragement from teachers and administrators, us students spent time learning new skills that we would never have learned before. Some of these new skills that I learned was magic, cooking, chess, and reading. One of the books I read was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He claimed that there were 3 ways for humans to find meaning: through work, love, and suffering. We've all suffered because of COVID, but using COVID as an opportunity has allowed us to gain these new perspectives and to truly understand our meaning. Another important skill I upgraded was creativity. We had to be creative in order to turn COVID into an opportunity. Our generation had to find new ways to connect, new topics to talk to friends about, new ways to keep ourselves motivated, and new ways to keep ourselves busy. We took examples from the creativity our teachers and administrators used in order to keep us connected, and we used those experiences to shape our COVID experience. You truly influenced our mindset. But I cannot exclude you, the audience, you administrators in Michigan Virtual. As I was taking a look through your website, I saw that Michigan Virtual was established in 1998. There's no doubt that throughout the past 23 years, Michigan Virtual has adapted to the surroundings in order to help students shine their best. The same concept can be applied here. Make COVID an opportunity to make a difference in education. Although COVID may have seemed to decrease the number of new ideas, it opened up even more possibilities. Keep up the good work, because it is administrators like you that keep us students going. I hope you enjoy the rest of my friends' presentations.
Thank you, Nikhil. Well said. And I love the phrasing, the terminology used around upgrading skills. So not just new skills, but upgrading current skills. Well said. We have 2 students left as we're winding down our time on our last session. If you have questions that come in, our students will still be popping on there and helping answering some of the feedback and perspective that you're hoping to gain from this session. But we're going to turn it over to Mitchell from Monroe High School. Mitchell, you are up.
Hi guys, as Matt said, my name is Mitchell Meyer. I am from Monroe High School, and I want to talk to you guys today a little bit about limits and what exactly limits mean to me and how this pandemic has affected limits. So first off, I'm not talking about calculus, so anyone who understands that, don't worry about it. That's not why we're here. So I'm going to explain a little bit about myself. In 2019, December, I had a chronic back injury. I collapsed on the floor. I had a infused spine in my L5-S1, and I had a slip disc because of it, which basically just means that I was struggling to walk for a little while. If you ever saw me at the state conference that MASC hosts, I was struggling to get around. It was really just hardship for me. And what that meant inside the school building was that walking around class to class was really difficult. I struggled sitting down in a chair for a long time. I struggled standing up and walking around for a long time. It was just really difficult. March, pandemic hits. I'm at home now. I'm doing all my schoolwork virtually. For me, this is coincidentally a good thing for me, just because that means I can create a schedule and I can work on myself. And it just helped me control what I wanted to do and when I needed to do it. Now, prior to my back injury, all I dreamed about was sports. All I wanted to do was just get into sports, go to school for sports. And when I thought my limit at the time, was getting into a school for soccer, going to school for soccer. When my back injury hit, I realized, what, this isn't going to be what I want to do. I started getting more focused on schoolwork. I started going, using my teachers' resources more. Going through the pandemic, I made sure my school made everything optional that for the rest of the school year, but that didn't matter to me. I wanted to keep going. I needed something to focus on, and I needed something to, kind of take my mind off of my back and everything that was going on. I worked super hard with my schoolwork. It worked out amazingly. My teachers helped me so much. They knew that I had my back injury. They knew I wanted to keep going to schoolwork. They made everything accessible for me. They did a fantastic job. I remember Mr. Newman, my social studies teacher. He was for world history. He would come and visit me. And obviously at the time it was pre-pandemic, so we were in quarantine, but like over the summer, when I wanted to keep going, I was planning, he helped me a lot with a lot of different programs, and it was so cool. And so basically what I want to talk about is my limit shift. Before with school, my school became my limit. How far can I do it? How well can I do in school? What can I do? What can I accomplish in myself? What can I accomplish in my back? I started working out every day, going to physical therapy. I started seeing doctors, doing my schoolwork when I could. My limit became my back and my schoolwork. And it really changed. It caused me to change my focus on what I wanted. At one time I wasn't planning on going anywhere prestigious for a school or anything like that. I just wanted to go play sports. Now, flash forward to now, actually this past weekend, I got into one of my dream schools for school. I got into the University of Michigan, which is like an amazing feat for me and my family. So for me to do that though, I needed the pandemic to shift my focus, shift my limit, because I was able to not only, work on my back, but I was also able to realize, what, maybe sports isn't my pathway. Maybe this is what I need. I needed the academic, the educational lift. This is where I find comfort. This is where I'm able to grow and just obsess over something that I really care about. And another story that I kind of want to talk about, and actually I'll start off with a quote. It's a man named Icarus. And the quote is, "All limits are self-imposed." Now, let me explain who Icarus was very quickly. Icarus is a man in Greek mythology. Him and his dad were stuck in a labyrinth. You may know what that is, you may not. It was basically this gigantic maze that was it was one of the most greatest feats ever designed by a person. It was impossible to solve. Him and his dad spent years inside of this maze, just trying to figure out how to get out. One day, they looked up and saw an open window. They saw an opening in the ceiling, and they realized, what if I don't have to solve this maze? What if I can go out through the top and skip through it? I think that was their limit. Before, their limit was pushing through that maze, figuring out how to solve that labyrinth. And then after time, and they realized that they just couldn't do it, they found something else to go through, and they found a pathway. Basically, throughout the rest of the story, they glue feathers onto themselves and fly out, which is not really the point. But the point is that they went through and they found a way to change their limit. They prospered in an area where they couldn't succeed. They changed their viewpoint. So that was kind of my story. That was kind of what I've been going through, and how the pandemic has just allowed me to change my limit and succeed in an area of growth that I never would have thought possible. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Mitchell. I love the quotes about limit. I love you bringing in some story time into it. I think all the educators online can have a pretty good understanding of the caliber of students that we're very fortunate enough to work with year in and year out. And I have 2 students left. I know we're running up against the time. I'd hate to put you on a shot clock, Ahimsa and Ethan. We'll go about 2 minutes each, because I know you've given up some time in the school day to be with us, and we definitely want to make sure you get the chance to share your perspective. So don't feel too rushed. But if the educators can hang with us, we have 2 more students left and we'll wrap up this session. So next up, also from Troy High School, please welcome Ahimsa.
Hey guys, my name is Ahimsa, and like Matt said, I'm from Troy High School, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my connection to the community. It's really ironic, but I haven't felt as connected to the city of Troy as I have now. Before the pandemic, I was really focused on school, kind of like what Megan was saying. I was at school for sometimes like 12 hours a day. I was at school, student government, doing my leadership stuff, studying, that's it. Like I'm at home or I'm at school. I was never really going to community events or talking to people outside of my school, outside of my zone. But it didn't take until the pandemic hit and we were in virtual learning when I was with my student government advisor, and she connected me with one of the principals of our elementary school who was running a food bank for our city only, like for Troy only. And they asked if student government could come and volunteer at this food bank. And when I went, I think I've been 5 or 6 times since that first time. I've been able to talk to a lot of people around Troy that I don't think I ever would have met or spoken to if it wasn't for COVID, and if it wasn't for the adults in my life that connected me to them. And I feel like it's really important that we take advantage of these opportunities that we have, and in a time where we can't really be together, finding ways to work together and meet with other people and learning all of these new perspectives. It's definitely changed my own perspective, because now I see Troy in my own city that I've lived in for all 18 years of my life in like a completely new perspective.
That's outstanding. I appreciate that insight. Looking at your own community through a new light, just from shared experiences and new relationships. Thank you so much, Ahimsa. Last up, he would not sing for us to begin this meeting, but I know he's going to show out to close it. So please welcome from Chesaning Union High School, Ethan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ethan Cohagen, and like Matt said, I am a senior at Chesaning Union High School. So the biggest thing that the pandemic has given all of us is a lot of time, tons and tons of this extra time. And so I've had the opportunity to use this time for both self-reflection and reflection on my community. So the first big thing that I had to tackle during the pandemic was self-management. So when you're in school, physically sitting in class in a seat, you kind of have 2 options, which are either to do your work or basically just stare at the wall. You are a completely captive audience to your teacher, to your work. But then when you're at home and you're sitting in front of a computer in high school, you're 20 other things that you could possibly be doing at home that are unfortunately a lot more. So I had the opportunity to evaluate my skills and think about what I needed to do to sit down and accomplish my work. And so as a result of that, going into college, where the format is show up to a 2-hour lecture once a week, do all the assignments and studying outside of class, I feel much more confident about my ability to go out into a university and accomplish that stuff. And then the other thing that I had the opportunity to do was get more in touch with my community. So during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to take up an internship at a local financial advising firm. Financial advisement is something that I'm super interested in. And so getting the opportunity to speak with financial advisors that live in the same community as me, a rural, small community, we're talking maybe 2,500 residents that live in my town. They often talk about managing people that are very good at something. Say they're very good at construction, they're good at hairstyling, they're a great doctor, and they want to go out and start a business in this field. But they were never educated on business skills that are completely crucial when opening a hair salon or a doctor's office. And so obviously I don't have the ability to go in and, change the college curriculum on what needs to be done for people that need business skills. But I thought that I could take that curriculum, those business skills, and implement them into high school. So I went about taking some of these financial advisors with me and starting a DECA club at Chesaning. It's the first business-oriented club that's ever been implemented in Chesaning High School history. And so now we not only have the opportunity to teach students that want to come in and join the club, people that are going into anything, whether it's biomedical or engineering, that need the skills to show up for a grant and explain why their lab or whatever it may be project is profitable to business people, but also to go out into the school, give presentations to the students on why this information is important, why it might be good to pursue an associate's degree in business if you're interested in any career field. So I'm super excited about the fact that I've been able to get more in touch with myself and my community, and tons of other people have too.
I love that, Ethan. You know, in our association, and we work with thousands of kids a year, you know, that's that passion to action. You know, we teach it, we preach it, and it's awesome to hear about you executing it. That fires me up, and I'm sure it fires up a lot of the educators on this call. So with that said, that concludes our positive outcomes Parade of Ideas session. Knowing that all of our students are experiencing this pandemic differently, we hope some of these positives are able to help fuel the second half of your school year, knowing that and just hearing from our students the crucial role that educators play in their overall mental health and development as young adults. So we're hopefully you're able to take some good ideas away from this session. Some feedback we got in the Q&A is just phenomenal. For most parts, it sounds like you guys want to skip lunch so you can keep listening to these students. We're very fortunate as an association to have such a strong crew. That's one of the abilities of our association is to work with students at a very young age, give them some of these leadership foundational skills, give them some tasks, some projects, and really watch it take off. I did put our association link on my name, MASSP, MAHS. If you want to learn more about, you know, what we do to help prop up students, how we provide student voice across the state, and some of the programs that we put in place, each in the digital world to give students that same professional development that you're receiving as educators, because it's equally as important that we're training and coaching our students as we are our educators. So with that said, again, huge round of applause. I want to thank all of our student presenters taking time out of their educational day to join us on this Parade of Ideas session. This does conclude this workshop for today. The platform itself, I know that the videos that were recorded, they will be uploaded back onto the platform. So if you had to choose between a couple tough decisions for your breakout sessions, I believe all of those sessions were recorded and they'll be available for you at a later date, along with some handouts and some documents. So just because this session is over today, circle back in the next couple of days, pick up some of those handouts, watch some sessions, and really draw down a lot of great information from some of the leaders in education that you got to hear from today. So with that said, again, thank you, students. Thank you, Michigan Virtual. Thank you, MASSP, for putting this conference on. We had a lot of fun today, and I hope you can go off and enjoy the rest of your week. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Matt and students, thank you guys for being with us. You are awesome as always. Appreciate you being here.